Buenas tardes a todos, mi nombre es Fernando. Bienvenidos al webinar, al seminario de Meisterplan, donde básicamente tocaremos dos tópicos, un poco el cómo a través de una cartera de portfolios existente, cómo puede impactar de alguna forma el adicionar nuevos proyectos. Vamos a ver también una forma ágil de cómo trabajar e incluso alguna integración o relación con Jira, ¿vale? Agenda, pues primero que todo va a estar por dos personas las presentaciones, Fabienne Strong o Fabienne Strong, experta en soluciones de la compañía IT Design, y hoy traeremos pues Meisterplan como base de todo este seminario, y Javier Cano, el CEO de Atica Business Solution. Tendremos una descripción de la solución, una demo por parte de Fabián, y finalmente tendremos una sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Inicialmente está deshabilitada la opción de micrófono, pero luego en la parte de preguntas y respuestas estará habilitado. Con lo cual, pues os dejo con Javier. Hola Javier, adelante.
Hola Nando, muchas gracias. Buenas tardes a todos. Me llamo Javier Cano, Atica Business Solutions, y bueno, suelo comentaros sobre Atica. Somos una compañía orientada a el diseño de procesos, de gestión de proyectos, carteras, gestión de trabajo relacionado con activos digitales, sin olvidarnos los demás procesos de gestión de una empresa, ¿no? El marketing, ventas, inventariado, producción. Y además solemos acompañar en este cambio de procedimientos y procesos a nuestros clientes con la implantación de un software, ¿no? Para cumplir sus objetivos de la digitalización de la compañía y también pues, para automatizar dichos procesos. Hoy en concreto vamos a presentar Meisterplan, ¿vale? Meisterplan es una solución para la gestión de carteras muy enfocada al que es la gestión de la capacidad de recursos, que nos permite el registro de los objetivos estratégicos, alinear los proyectos y programas que forman parte de la cartera con esos objetivos, puntuarlos de manera objetiva, priorizarlos, ordenarlos dentro de nuestra cartera y seleccionarlos, ¿no? Con lo cual, finalmente, la conclusión es que lo que nos permite es, de una manera muy sencilla, realizar ese gran plan, ¿no? El plan estratégico, el plan director, y además nos aporta multitud de beneficios, ¿no? La primera es esta capacidad de hacer el estratégico de una manera sencilla, y el punto de dolor que más hemos detectado en nuestros clientes en nuestra vida es el de replanificar este gran plan cuando vienen nuevas peticiones, pues analizar el impacto de esas nuevas peticiones, sobre todo en el campo de los recursos disponibles, ¿no? Hace muy difícil empezar a establecer muchas comunicaciones con diferentes áreas para saber cuándo vas a tener disponible a este otro perfil, y empezar a hacer un plan de alto nivel con el cual ver si se puede abordar la petición o no, si la posponemos, o si es muy prioritaria, posponemos otra u otras peticiones. Es decir, replanificar el portfolio es muy laborioso. Hoy vamos a ver, también nos va a enseñar lo sencillo que es acometer este punto de dolor con Meisterplan. Este plan es devenido de esta gestión de los proyectos en base a la capacidad de los recursos, es tener planificaciones más certeras. también, en mi experiencia, he visto que los 2 puntos más críticos para que un proyecto se desvíe, sobre todo en tecnología, es o la falta de experiencia de los recursos, que eso es, bueno, es otro tema que no va a resolver ninguna herramienta, y la disponibilidad de los recursos, ¿vale? Entonces, vamos a ver cómo con este plan vamos a dar planificaciones más certeras, lo cual va a generar otro tipo de beneficios, y es que nuestros clientes van a estar más satisfechos. Yo siempre pongo el ejemplo de cuando hemos pedido una pizza por una plataforma de comidas a domicilio, te indica que te quedan 30 minutos, cuando faltan menos de 3, te dice que va a llegar pronto, pasada media hora sigue poniendo que va a llegar pronto y bueno, el enfado es enorme, igual que el hambre, ¿no? Entonces, cuando un cliente nos pide un proyecto, debemos tener en cuenta que sobre todo el ir mostrándole con claridad y de manera temprana cuándo lo va a tener, le permite a él también planificarse. Y aunque no vaya a estar completamente satisfecho porque el proyecto se retrasa, por lo menos sabe que detrás hay profesionales y hay personas que previenen constantemente el, el- el trabajo y las entregas. ¿Vale? También, beneficio secundario es pues, que los clientes van a estar más satisfechos, obviamente, van a ser más partícipes también, o los podemos hacer más partícipes de lo que es la gestión de la cartera, ¿vale? Vamos a también ver y entender que las repriorizaciones se basan en sus propios criterios, en decisiones que ellos tomaron en su momento y que los recursos no son ilimitados, ¿no? Entonces, creo que de una manera muy comprensible van a entender por qué un proyecto se retrasa o por qué no se puede hacer en determinadas fechas, ¿vale? Y también la satisfacción de los empleados. Que bueno, las personas tengamos a todos los niveles, ¿no? de la jerarquía o sea, el trabajo organizado, sean portfolios, proyectos, las tareas del día a día, ayuda a que las personas, pues bueno, nos sintamos más cómodos, vayamos a trabajar más cómodos, salgamos de trabajar a la hora que nos toca y nos sintamos más satisfechos. Y además, Meisterplan nos ayuda, o va a poder ayudarnos a divulgar mejor la estrategia que estamos ejecutando, ¿no? Y que llegue a los equipos. Y que los equipos se sientan partícipes del gran cambio que hay en su organización, ¿no? En su empresa. Y los motive más. Es más motivador saber que estoy creando bloques de mármol para construir la catedral de Notre Dame que estoy picando piedra en una cantera. Siempre da más satisfacción personal. Y el último de los beneficios, que será la segunda parte de la demo que nos va a enseñar Fabián, es que los equipos ágiles empiezan como a estar más involucrados en la parte de la estrategia de nuestro negocio, ¿no? Empezamos a tener una visión del trabajo de los equipos ágiles, que suelen ser equipos más operativos y que no, el escalado de la información no acaba de ser habitualmente muy bueno. Pues Meisterplan nos va a ayudar a que ese escalado de la información sea mejor y que estén mejor sincronizados con aquellos equipos que no son ágiles. Bueno, todo esto y mucho más nos lo va a mostrar Fabián a continuación. Así que le paso la palabra a Fabián. Fabián, your time.
Gracias, Javier.
Perdón, un temilla antes de que comiences, Fabián. La demo será hecha en inglés. Nosotros posteriormente, pues subtitularemos el webinar y os pasaremos la grabación con subtitulado español. Ok, Fabián.
Okay, gracias. Buenas tardes a todos. Yeah, I will switch to English now, as Hernando said. So, yeah, I will give you some insights to Meisterplan, but let's start with one really quick slide before we dive into the tool. So one challenge that we really often hear is that coordinating projects across multiple teams is extremely challenging because resource requirements are constantly changing. So you have new projects that are coming in and need resources. You have already existing projects that maybe take longer, there are shifts, and then consequently they require more resources. Also, priorities can often shift. Something urgent comes in and takes resources from another project. And that means you constantly have to decide which project gets which resources. And often it's also unclear what people are working on today, because different teams work in different tools to manage their day-to-day work, and no forward-looking resource planning data is available. And that's exactly why we created Meisterplan. So you can see the 3 levels here. We are exactly in the middle at the portfolio level. We manage across all projects, not just individual ones. And that's absolutely necessary because resource conflicts cannot be solved at the project level. There are conflicts between projects. And ideally, of course, as you can see above, your projects should be aligned with your company's strategic goals. And so Meisterplan brings these two together, the operational view as well as the strategy, while asking the most important questions. Which projects can we do and when? And is there capacity available? So the right resources at the right time to really reach our goals. And I'm going to demonstrate this in a brief demo to you. We dive directly into the tool now, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so let's go full screen. Welcome to Meisterplan, first of all. So I hope you can see it well. I will start with a brief overview demonstrating the functionality, give you an overview of also the benefits that Javier mentioned previously, and then we'll demonstrate also a little bit our Jira connector, and afterwards we will still have time for some questions if there are any. So welcome to Meisterplan. You see here the portfolio designer, which is our main portfolio level workspace. It answers the 2 most important questions: which projects are we doing and when are we doing them? So here in the portfolio part or in the project part. But at the same time, you also have the resource part showing, do we have capacity available? And these are the main aspects of Meisterplan compiled in this first view. What's important to note is, of course, that the projects are sorted by priority. That means the most important topics are at the top, and then going down in the ranking, the green must-have line shows you everything above is of the highest priority, urgent topics, strategic, company-wide topics, and everything below is still maybe a little bit more flexible. Reach the cutoff line, which is essential because it tells you where your plan stops. So here you draw the line, which projects you cannot do anymore because, yeah, well, maybe these projects, there is not enough capacity to do them. They have been stopped for some reason. They have not yet been confirmed. And that's why they are not counting to your resource utilization. So what this means is that you can very easily check if a new project comes in, what happens to my other projects, what happens to my resource capacity, will there be any consequences? So if I include all of these projects now, please take a look at the resource section. I'm sure you have seen that there is some bright red going on down here. So this means that there is a workload or an overwork for some of these roles. They are overutilized, and yeah, we have some constraints. Really easily put, it's too many projects for too few resources, and they are not available at the right time to consider all of these projects. So that's really simple. At the same time, we can also see on the project level whenever there is a red line on a project, you can be sure that there is a resource conflict. So that means, let's take, for example, this project. We want to do an internal reorganization, and it has already started, but there is a red line almost across the whole project. And now I selected it and check below who are the people concerned. So we have junior consultants that work on this. We have a project manager, of course, and both of them have this red color, but mainly the junior consultants in this quarter are very clearly overbooked. So what to do? Of course, in practice, there are a million different ways to go about a conflict like this. If the project had not started yet, you could simply postpone it. That's an easy fix until the red line is gone. And now you can be sure it's green. That works. But unfortunately, it's not really possible because we have already started working on it. If it's a very important project, really urgent, then we might reprioritize it. So that means simply drag it up in the ranking until it works. So this also shows that the priority of a project is essential for its feasibility. So in Meisterplan, the most prioritized projects get the resources first, and then everything below comes next. And now we've also seen that if we move this project up in the ranking, the conflict has moved to this project. So one below, we have the rollout SAP HR, which now has a constraint as well. So this shows, first of all, that we have to make trade-offs. So if you want to do one thing, maybe it has a consequence on another project, then we have to start a new discussion. Which project is more urgent, which one is more important, and where do we really want to place our scarce resources? Maybe we can postpone the project, for example. If that's not an option, we could also, of course, use different tools such as breaking the project into more parts, so we can insert a break. Maybe we can still make it to this milestone, but then afterwards we will have to insert a break, work on another project during this time, and then resume next year, and then it seems feasible. So yeah, this goes on to show that in Meisterplan, both in one view, so you have your priorities, and at the same time, you make sure that you can meet your priorities by making the projects feasible and manageable from a capacity perspective. So I'd like to show you as well how we can support with prioritizing projects, because that's not, it's really not an easy task, but in order to make it more objective, you can set up a scoring in Meisterplan. So here you can see a project detail mask. This is completely configurable. It's an example for a place where you have all your project data, like start and finish, who is the project manager, in which department is this running, and what is the stage gate. So this is already an active project, but here through the stage gate field, we could really show where the project is in its life cycle and track it from start to finish. In order to support the prioritization, we can use a scoring, as I said. So you can set up the scoring by using your individual criteria. That could be, for example, strategy fit. So how well does this project help us reach our goals? The risk level, the payback period, but this can be set up completely individual. And then you give points for each of these values. So you can see we have a medium strategy fit that is 20 points. It's one field up here. if we had a very high strategy fit, for example, then you would see we have now 40 points. And this is added up to make the priority score. So, and then this score is compared with all other projects in your portfolio, and consequently, you can see which rank it should objectively have. And right now, we see that the rank is 7 out of 24, so it's pretty high. But by priority score, it should be only on rank 17. So for some reason, this has been escalated and has been moved up in the ranking. So this can be definitely used as a basis for discussion. Yeah, to help you get started from there, but you can still change the priority manually. Then, of course, Meisterplan offers a lot of functionality to care for the financials in your projects. So be it financials on the project level, meaning how well you are working within your budget. If you are going over your budget at the end of the project. So we have a lot of nice little trackers that can help project managers, but are also relevant at the portfolio level. Same goes for the allocations. How many days have I approved for a project versus how much has been planned? And then again, how much have they worked on this project? And if there is a large deviation, for example, here, we can see we will probably deviate from our initial budget for this project. But we can see it's also a large and a critical project, so it has already been escalated. So this was a short excursion into a project. Of course, there is a lot more to do here, but just as a quick overview. And what I wanted to mention definitely as well is you can structure your project portfolio in the way that you need it. So now we are looking at all our projects, but we can set really flexible filters that can be, for example, by department, by business unit, by goal, by project type. And then you can easily filter and just see the projects that are relevant to you right now without having to put them together manually. They will be sorted automatically. So I just quickly opened the departmental project portfolio. As you can see, it looks a little bit different. Now it's fewer projects just from the Department of Software Engineering. And we also only see the software developers as resources here. So now let me quickly go back to all projects. I want to show you what it would look like if we added a new project and, of course, measure the impact that it has on your whole portfolio. So I simply add a new project, can be different types, but I just choose a simple one, new project. The only thing I need is a start and a finish date, can be a rough estimation, and that's all I need to add this project here. So the idea is really we can start simple with a rough estimation. We don't need a lot of detail in order to make an estimation to make sure that a project can work, that a project is feasible in your portfolio. All we need right now is an estimation, and we can do that on the role level. So let's say we need, let's say we need a junior developer, for example, and we need them with, we need a complete junior developer, 1 FTE. So that means 1 full-time equivalent. And then on top of that, we would also need a junior consultant. Okay, so with this first estimation, we can already see if this project is feasible or not. And how can we see it? Because of the red line. So of course, it's not really realistic to start a project of this size simply today. So what this means for us is that we might be able to start this project next year or even the year after, according to our current plan. Of course, if we then say, if you fill in all the fields that are relevant for the prioritization, maybe it's a project that aligns really well with the strategy, then it might move up a few places in the ranking, and then we might even start it earlier. So as you can see, it's now towards the end of next year, we might be able to start it. But then again, as I showed before, you will always see the impact on other projects. So for example, this project now has a red line, so we need to make sure that this is still feasible. So it's really simple. You don't need a lot of detail, a lot of data in order to make a portfolio level plan. Of course, once this project is started, you need to go into an operational level tool such as Jira or any other project management tool to make sure all the tasks are planned and so on. But for starting, this is a really good place. Okay, so now let's dive a little bit into what this would look like if we had our operational data in Jira. So we have a Jira connector that I want to briefly introduce. And what this really helps you with is bringing together the day-to-day planning, the operational view with your strategic level, especially from the point of capacity or from the capacity perspective. So we are going to answer questions like, which project are we planning in the next month? Which are the most important ones? And for example, which projects or features can we deliver in the next quarter, in the next year? And do the efforts that we have estimated match with what we have planned in a concrete way? So the Jira connector links the two tools, and it helps you match, as I said, the operational plan with your resource planning in Meisterplan to make sure it's feasible. And this can be done at in various ways. So you can simply, it's an out of the box connection. You can simply start directly from your Meisterplan system, log in your Jira, and then import your epics or stories directly into Meisterplan. Or if you start in Meisterplan, then you can link your projects with the corresponding item in Jira. And that's basically all that we need currently. You can also import resource allocation. So this can be done at the team level, at the role level, or even at the individual level. So it really depends how you currently use Jira, but Meisterplan is quite flexible. And in order to identify projects where we have actually a deviation, we can simply use our color scheme. So right now we color by workload, but let's color it by deviation status. So if we had a deviation, but somehow the color doesn't want to work, but never mind, we just go on. Usually you would be able to see in red, like really clearly where there is a deviation in your Meisterplan project, because in Jira you have planned it really differently. So let's dive into a project that has been linked with Jira. So we have the recovery test system, which is in the future. And on the right, you can now see the comparison. So first of all, on the project level, we can see that is actually more time planned in Meisterplan than in Jira, and we can see it on the role level. So we have, let's switch to days quickly. We have these 3 roles and they correspond to what we have in Jira. Could also be teams, as I said. And going from this, we can see that there is a little bit of a buffer in Meisterplan because we have more days than in Jira. What we can also see is the task status that we have for the stories. So we have one that is already closed, which we don't need to compare anymore, and then all of these tasks by role that are within allocation. So we can see how much has been planned, how many days. This can also be story points, by the way, and yeah, how this matches with Meisterplan. So this seems to be a good fit. It's all in the green except for the capacity in Meisterplan. So here we would need to take it back to the portfolio level and make sure it works for all by simply moving it a bit into the future so that it works. And now it has turned green. That's great. But what if we have a project that has already started? That's a lot more complicated. And here Meisterplan also provides a solution. So I'll just switch to this project here. Here we can see that we have 2 persons planned, 2 resources individually, and their tasks that are in the future. And here it's unfortunately the other way around. We have too few days, so 15 days missing in Meisterplan in order to close all of these tasks. And we can see, or we can really quickly identify which tasks are feasible. So for Christine, we have 3 days or 3 story points that are still in plan. And for Danielle, there is 1 task with 1 story point that matches. But unfortunately, outside allocation, we have a lot more. So compared to what has been planned in Meisterplan, there is not enough time allocated here. And what's important is that we always compare the future. So what has been done previously does not matter unless the tasks are closed. So everything that is open and allocations in the future are compared here. So this can have a variety of reasons, of course. Either the backlog is just, it has expanded, there are more tasks planned now, or we are simply lagging behind, the tasks have not been closed. For whatever reason, there is now not enough time allocated. So if there was enough time in Meisterplan or enough capacity, we could now simply adapt the allocations. That means from tomorrow on, we add the missing days to our Meisterplan project. And I'll quickly do that. Takes a few seconds. Now you can see, okay, everything is within allocations. And here we have added some days. But unfortunately, we don't have enough capacity, so we would still need to maybe shift the project or move it up in our priority in order to make it all work. So I hope this gave you a good overview of the current capabilities. The focus is really on making sure that the capacity planning in Meisterplan works with really the operational plan that you have in Jira in order to also avoid double data maintenance. Of course, you already have the tasks in Jira. You don't need to plan them again in Meisterplan. So this really makes life easier. We also provide a milestone import, an import of work logs to Meisterplan from Jira. And there are a lot of features to come in the future and the not too far future. So this is really one of our focus topics right now. Also a bidirectional flow is planned, and to have data, project data, basic data from Jira imported to Meisterplan. So stay tuned. There's a lot of nice features upcoming. And if it's not Jira, Meisterplan can also integrate with other operational tools. As I mentioned in the beginning, teams work the way they want. They have a million different tools, and with Meisterplan, you can simply integrate them and then have the bird's eye view on your portfolio and capacity situation. All right, so I have been talking a lot. Shall we dive into the questions right now?
Ok. El turno de preguntas.
Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, puede levantar la mano y abrimos el micrófono, ¿vale? Muy bien, Jorge. Buenas tardes, Jorge. Estás en mute. Puedes activar. Perfecto.
¿Me oís ahora?
Sí.
Perfecto, Jorge, adelante.
La integración con Jira, ¿en qué nivel de pricing está? O sea, ¿está en todos?
Sí. O sea, va incorporado con el producto.
¿Y esta integración bidireccional, para cuándo está prevista?
Fabián, when is scheduled the bidirectional integration with Jira?
So as we work in an agile way, there is never an exact date previewed, of course, but I think it's on our roadmap definitely for next year.
Okay, that's like a lot of range in time, but I guess it's fine. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe can I say I'm Ardin from Meisterplan, maybe to support my colleague Fabian there. So what we are offering this to clients, the bidirectional possibility with a connector in the background like Zapier, for example, which we are providing at this place. So you can have it already today. What Fabienne is mentioning, that it's still not out of the box. We are thinking that it will be at the latest in February, so next year it will be available. But even today you can have a solution for the bidirectional.
Okay. And another question is how this integrates where we have the directory of users, because sometimes I don't know if it's a good idea to take this from Jira. So how this works? How can I incorporate all the resources in Meisterplan?
Mm-hmm. So you mean basically the data import, like the basic data of your resources?
Yeah, but not only like an initial import, but more like a synchronization, because we have like onboardings and offboardings every day.
Of course. Yeah, so for the resources, it makes sense to have an integration with your HR tool. So that's something a lot of our customers do. For example, in Germany, a lot of people use Personio. I don't know how it is in Spain, but it makes sense to take this data from your HR tool, for example. We also provide an integration with Entra ID, where you can manage your users and also create resources from their users managed through your Entra ID. So,
and you can also use the export and import tool.
Of course.
you can export to Excel. It's very easy to import here to Excel the resources.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. ¿Más preguntas?
Too much information at once.
Yeah. Bueno, pues ya prácticamente es la hora. Si no tenéis más preguntas, bueno, siempre podéis acudir a nuestra página web y consultarnos. Podéis evaluar el producto de manera gratuita yendo a meisterplan.com. Si necesitáis ayuda en algún momento con la evaluación, pues no tenéis más que contactar con nosotros o con Fabián. Y bueno, espero que os haya agradado. Tengo que dar las gracias al equipo de Meisterplan. Thank you very much, Fabián. Thank you very much, Aldin.
Thank you, everyone.
Y muchas gracias a todos por asistir, por atendernos. Y espero que vayamos todos, bueno, haciendo un poquito más de portfolio management, ¿no? Y gracias a todos por asistir y nos encontraremos pronto.